first serve across the county. No quota for any of the municipalities. We really wanted to help those who needed the help, and so we didn't try to do anything that was fair across the county. It was first come, first serve, as long as you had a business in the county. So that's a bit of an update on that program. Any questions about it? I'd be willing to accept, Don, if you're okay with questions about that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Let's get the questions in when we're at it.
I just actually want to commend you guys on that, because the fast action and the way that you took care of business like that is really, really fantastic. I was singing your laurels again, because of course City of Guelph is behind this ball, and they were thinking of setting up an economic development task force, and I said, wow, Center Wellington is way ahead of you guys. So congratulations to all of you that made that happen, because I'm hearing from business it made a difference. So kudos.
Well, that's really good to hear, Crystal, and it took a bunch of pushing and behind the scenes to move this as fast as we did, but it's surprising what you can do when you have a few people who are really pushing hard from a political side.
Kelly, anybody else? Yep.
Yeah. Kelly, you should take a fair bit of credit for this. If the majority of people are from Center Wellington, the majority of businesses from Center Wellington taking it's that's because you're on the radio and you're on Facebook Live constantly updating people, and our business people knew about it, and the other areas probably didn't catch on till all the money's gone, right? So good work.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, Neil. You could be right.
Yep. Anyone else?
It's Dana here. I'm from the chamber. I just wanted to echo Christelle's thoughts. Fantastic job on that. And yeah, we'll at the chamber too. We've been promoting it with all of our businesses on the radio, as well as through email blasts and a number of different ways to connect. And yeah, we were actually able to, the day the announcement came out, I was on the radio and able to announce it the same day as Kelly did. And yeah, I think businesses appreciate that. So congrats, good job to everybody.
I agree. Thank you, and thanks to Chris White for starting it off, and great work. And I think by the sounds of it, you guys being on the radio and out there all the time, that's made all the difference for Center Wellington. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got any questions on that before we move on? That's it. Okay. The next one, 6.2, is the Township Center Wellington Economic Response Plan. Andy? Kelly? Does everybody have a copy of it?
Yeah, do you want, Pat, do you want to speak to that one, or? I have a copy of it. I could speak to it, but I wouldn't mind somebody else speaking to this one.
Yeah, Pat, do you have a copy that you can maybe do it?
I could speak to it. It really is just a compilation of all of the things that the township did early in the pandemic response to help citizens in terms of reducing penalties or eliminating penalties for a period of time on water and wastewater and tax payments. It was just a really compilation of everything we'd done about having building services back online, and building inspections, having our planning information that our planning department was still available to accept planning applications and was still functioning, information that this economic development task force was still functioning, and that staff were really available to help in situations for businesses or residents across the township. So it was really just a compilation of a lot of things that the township had been doing, but we really hadn't put together. So.
Okay, everybody's got a copy, I guess, from the package. So this is where we want to discuss, and I think the mayor and wants to hear from all of us. Do we have any other suggestions that we can offer to the township, some ideas on stuff that would help to make business life a little easier?
Can I just say something before we get going, Don?
Yep.
Is that okay? just really like one of the reasons why we wanted this group to meet again is because we recognize that we have to be thinking now about kind of the reemergence of our businesses and what we're going to do longer term. We know the hospitality and tourism guys have taken a huge hit, and we've already started to talk to the RTO4 guys about how we're going to make sure that Center Wellington, Fergus, Elora reemerges faster than a lot of other small towns do. So one of the things, and when we talked about whether or not we should keep this meeting going, one of the things that we talked about, it's really important to get the business perspective on what we need to do and how we need to partner as businesses and government to be very practical, be very action oriented, and figure out what our next steps are to do whatever we can to get businesses off the ground and being able to survive this and go beyond it and kind of get back into things. So that's why we wanted to have the meeting. One of the things that we have talked about is potentially having a Center Wellington jump on board to this fund that is being coordinated from the Community Futures to see if we can further help Center Wellington businesses. Now, we don't want to be putting money in a place where the feds and the province are going to be putting money hopefully soon. We don't want to double up because we can't afford that much. But we really just want your guys' brains here and what do you think we can do? And let's be as practical as we can be because we really want to make sure that we're taking a good next steps. And if anybody has their ears to the ground on what people are hearing out there, it's you guys. So we need your help on this to make sure that we're doing the things that make sense and we're not wasting our time doing things that don't make sense. You know, the federal government and the province can do that. We don't have the luxury of wasting time doing things that don't make a real positive difference. So that's where you guys come in.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. I talked to Dana earlier today, and it might be worthwhile that Dana, maybe if you could explain to people what the chamber's doing and how you and Peter are getting out in front of this. That might really help to everybody else to see what's going on.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Don. Yeah, I did have a chat with you earlier, and one of the things that we're doing, and we tried to do it as quickly as possible, is to get a webinar series out there for members and non-members alike. So all the businesses, as you know, not all the businesses in our community belong to the Chamber. We would love that. It is our goal, but we are offering free webinars, five sessions to start with various topics on how to access the different supports and reliefs available to businesses, but also some of the strategic planning. And one of the sessions we're doing next week with Peter on Thursday is called the Next 90. And Peter, you'll talk to that in more detail maybe, but really it's about the strategic thinking that needs to happen over the next 30, 60, 90 days and how businesses are going to plan for their reemergence and getting back on track. So we recognize that there is a requirement for businesses to start thinking about that. One of the things I heard today is a lot of business owners are working on their business, but they're not necessarily working in their business right now. So they do have to be focusing on what the next steps are and what their strategy is going to be from whether it's bringing back employees that have been laid off or furloughed, communications during those layoff periods as well. How do you communicate with your staff? How do you communicate with your clients, with your suppliers, with your customers? So there's a lot of stuff that we are hoping to be able to share and impart with our different local businesses. And we're sharing that out through all of our different business support organizations. So Community Futures, Business Center Guelph Wellington, the BIAs, our Agilic, Second Chance, all of the Ontario, the Employment Ontario groups, trying to get as much just connectivity out there so businesses are aware that we're doing this. And again, it's completely free. They're 1-hour sessions opening up to questions, and we'll follow up with responses and one-on-one coaching after the fact as well. And so we're trying to do some different ways to be interactive with our members. We're doing a lot like everybody else is doing. There's a ton of stuff coming out from all levels of government. We're trying to interpret it and make it really easy to understand and post it in email blasts, social media, on our website, through press releases, whatever that looks like. We're reaching out to members directly. So there's a number of ways we're trying to do that. we're really excited about the virtual town hall meeting, a swap talk next week. The mayor's one this week went fantastic. Great job, guys, on that. And we're doing the same thing with 4 levels of government. So we've got Ted, Michael, Kelly on behalf of federal, provincial, county, and township. So that's going to be great. And it is really business focused to allow business owners to ask the questions that are weighing most heavily on them. So again, just trying to find different creative ways to interact. So that's what we're doing right now. And a lot of it, I'm getting input from my colleagues at other chambers, boards of trade, through the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. I'm really fortunate to be part of those networks and be able to share the information that those guys have, and they're huge networks. At the Canadian level, with Perrin Beatty being at the top, his connections obviously in government are amazing. So I'm sitting in on meetings with top senior officials elected, as well as different government agencies, and learning about the programs as they're being developed. I'm getting a firsthand look at stuff before it's actually been implemented, and they're looking for information. They're putting out surveys. We're sharing a Stats Can survey. They're trying to develop those programs based on the feedback of businesses across the country. Same at the Ontario level. Rocco Rossi, as the CEO of the Ontario Chamber, very well connected. So they're doing the same things. A lot of advocacy and lobbying happening. The 75% wage subsidy change was a big result of the business associations and various different industry associations lobbying with the government. So I'm really excited. I'm glad to share whatever knowledge and information that I've got. It's tough working remotely and feeling a little bit isolated, and making sure that we're in touch the best way we can be. But that's what we're doing. So I'll stop talking now.
Thank you, Dana. That's great. I just thought that might be beneficial for everybody to see that there is some action going on in the community. And so I'll invite anybody else that has some ideas of what the township can do, or
can I speak for a second?
Oh, Peter, okay.
Yeah. I speak with a lot of people every week and run a couple of different groups like this and what have you. And one of the retail groups that I manage is retailers from all over the place. But this one in particular is the community of Kingsville in southern Ontario. And what some of the retailers are doing down there is they're putting together a reintroduction package, and they're doing it themselves because they don't have an economic group like this, so they've put it together. But what they're really doing, and I thought it was really interesting, was remember back a few years ago when you used to see the ribbons on all the cars to support your troops and to support different things, and there was a phase going through there where there was ribbons for different things. So they've created a thing where they're packaging a ribbon thing, and they're basically doing a community strong type thing that they're going to put out as the group of retailers. Everybody's going to have the ribbons at their caches to say, hey, we're supporting our town, and we're in business, and we're back together, and trying to make it a real sort of community strong type atmosphere. And I think that's something that not only for retail, but for all businesses. And you see that the towns driving around, everybody could have like a ribbon on their door, or something that can kind of rally the troops a little bit about getting excited, and about, things that trigger. It's a talk trigger. And I think a talk trigger is kind of an interesting thing right now, when you're going in there and people see it around, and it's here and it's there and it's showing up, and it's like, what is this? Whatever, purple ribbon, red ribbon, whatever our talk trigger is. I think the idea of having a talk trigger around this for local business would be an interesting thing. So, and do we pool money together? Do we have an ability to market that talk trigger as an economic council, so that it's all kind of a rallying? Everybody's feeling disconnected, but more connected than ever in a way too. And in a way, I'm the more connected, I think, is that we all live in small town for a reason, and it's because of this kind of feeling of we want to help each other, we want to be with each other. It's that community feel that's why we live where we live. And I think having that rallying point and talk trigger type thing would be a good thing for businesses in Center Wellington to be able to get around. So it just was my thought there.
That's great. Thank you, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, so you're working with Dana, right, on some of these other issues?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just one of the panelists on the chamber, and next week I'm going to do a chat for an hour. But yes, I am one of the people that are going to be doing one of the webinars.
Okay.
Don, can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to talk from the business center point of view, and Tony, jump in if you where you are with this. But the business center is also, and it was put in this notes here about the 1 hour free consultations. So we continue to, we're not operating physically, but we're operating online, and all of the advisors involved with working with the small businesses. So I'm encouraging, and please encourage people who need to talk through some strategies. I think it's a great idea what you're talking about, Peter. I think there's a lot of pivoting that needs to be done. There are companies that and businesses that will not survive this. There are also a lot that will, with the right marketing strategy, a new way of thinking about things virtually. And so that's what the advisors have been working on. We're participating in a lot of webinars. We're participating in a lot of stuff, and we're trying to get the information out that there is possibility in all of this. For those companies that we can. And I think it's just that communication, keeping it open, because the advisors can help work through some of these plans, work through some of these strategies. You know, we're not charging anything for this because that's part of the services we offer. So I would, and Tony, I don't know, with you, you're the one who are talking to these people on the ground. Is there anything that you're hearing that could come up into something else that we need to offer?
I think, Christelle, I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is we have a lot of help that's being provided by all levels of government. But one of the things that comes up over and over and over again with small business people I talk to, a lot of feeling overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed with a number of different programs. Do they qualify? Do they not? They're overwhelmed with just trying to maintain a business in these times. And very often it's not so much that they're looking for specific advice, it's they just want someone to talk to. And I think what some of the advisors are doing is very valuable, where we become a sounding board for them and to try to refocus on what they're doing. So, you know, it's not that we've got the answers. And I think all of us would agree that, you know, none of us know when this is going to come to an end. But if the advisors, and if we're in some respect, if we can help develop a focus to the issues that they're facing and provide a sounding board for some of the problems that they're that they've got to deal with, I'm finding a lot of people really appreciate that. And so, you know, in some respects, that's a bit of a pivot for the business center from what has traditionally been, you know, where we try to help people grow their business. A lot of it now is just how do you sustain yourself during these times. So I would agree with a lot of what's going on, but I don't think we can ever forget the human cost in this and what people are having to go through.
I think what we're also going to see is a lot more people moving towards self-employment. There's a lot of people who are holding jobs will not be able to return to the jobs that they had. They will no longer exist. So the Business Center ran a self-employment benefits program for a year, and we're currently in talks with the rest of the small business centers that used to hold the contract to look at this again, because I think this is a very real reality that people will be looking at generating their own types of jobs. So we'll be doing a lot of work in ideation and thought process. And Peter, I think you and I are going to have a conversation about this too, about how we can start to give people ideas about what that could look like for the future. So.
Okay, thank you. Just
a couple of things. There are businesses that this is a boom to them. And one of them, if you're in the paint industry, paint sales are just soaring because people are sitting at home with not a lot to do. They can take advantage. And another one that I found very interesting, what Christelle said, a lot of in this business may suffer. Online cooking classes are just going upwards like crazy as people are beginning to learn new skills that could impact people going out in the manner that we used to once do. So I think we have to be prepared that life could be very different for a lot of different businesses.
Yes, thank you, Tony. So let's, each time we come to one of these things, you know, Tony, you've got some ideas, and Crystal, can you guys format it so that we can sort of focus as what can the township do to help with that? Because is there some specific thing that you can think that we can give Kelly and the rest of them some ideas of stuff they might be able to do?
Don, it's Bob Taylor. I can't put my hand up, so.
Yeah. Okay, Bob.
I had a thought, and I got thinking of all of the businesses that were forced to close. That means they're not open. We've got some businesses that are open at 75% or 50%. But when I think of our downtown retail stores and all of our tourism, they're decimated. I mean, our hotel in Guelph, it's not Center Wellington, went from a record year to zero. And our burn rate, we're losing about $250,000 a month. So we're closed for 3 months. That's $750,000. So I think about all of those retail customers who are sitting on inventory from the winter, maybe if they're in retail. What's the one thing they've got to do is when they open the doors again, people won't go flooding back. And the last thing they'll have money for is marketing dollars. But if we could provide 50% of their marketing costs in a program, whether they do it over website or special printing, all of them are going to be thinking about an offer. How do I clear out my winter inventory? How do I get 30 people back? How do I get the streets of downtown Elora going as a group? Whatever that is. So I'm targeting it to any business owner that either pays property taxes to Center Wellington, because we want to protect them, that's our source of revenue, or that employs at least 3 people. And that gets all the people that own retail stores and hospitality businesses that have been forced to close, and maybe they just rent their premises. The criteria would be the business must have been forced to close during COVID-19. The money's to be used for marketing, and that this fund would pay 50% of that cost, and perhaps some people in the expertise, whether it be chamber or the business center, could help pull those marketing programs together. And it could be done as a group. Downtown Fergus business people could do it as a group. Downtown Elora to get people moving. The mill could have somebody could have a special offer to bring people in. But it's the last thing they're going to have money to do, but it might be the one thing that can help kickstart it. And from a funding, where would we get that money? I know we always do this. We tend to think of slots, but if we deferred a portion of the revenue for slots, so what if we defer a road or a bridge for 1 year? If we all of a sudden kickstart this economy really, really well and get all those people, I'm just afraid, somebody mentioned it, some of these stores aren't going to reopen. So let's get the ones that are closed reopened and kickstarted with a marketing program. That's my 2 cents worth.
That's a great idea, Bob. Thank you.
Don?
Yes.
We also have our treasurer, Dan Wilson, on the call here.
Yep.
Can he just make a comment as to if it's legal for the town to take a project and then spin it into something like this? Because I know that there were some hurdles that we had to go through at the county to be able to do that. And even when we did do it, our treasurer at the county almost broke into hives. So we have to, if he could make a comment about what we're allowed to do, because I don't want us to go too far down this path until we know what our limitations are.
Sure. Good idea. Dan, are you up there?
Yes, I am.
There you are. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So we are somewhat restricted through the Municipal Act. There's a bonusing provision of the Municipal Act that, in a nutshell, says that we can't have preferential treatment of one business over another within the township. There are a few exceptions to that rule. One of them is a grant program, and the county's process they're going through is by providing money to an external party and offering some type of program similar to a grant program is the way the county's getting around that restriction. So we could do something through a grant program, or you can do something through a CIP, or community improvement plan. So those are really the two ways you can same provision of the Municipal Act is to do one of those two.
So can the township fund the BIAs heavier? Could we run it through the BIAs? Like if there's money available, is it possible to fund BIAs and then the BIAs would take that money and do the marketing?
I have a problem with funding the BIA for that sort of stuff. Like my business isn't in the BIA. I like the idea that Dan was talking about, in that it should affect all businesses in Center Wellington, and that's kind of why I was talking about that community proud thing. Right. It's like we need to come up with a plan that's not affecting just Main Street, because there's a lot of other businesses in our town, and we need to try to figure out something that's going to be able to wrap up Center Wellington, not just the two main streets.
So just back, okay, Andy, I see Andy's got his hand up.
I didn't mean just main streets. I meant anybody that was closed because of COVID, because they were at risk of never ever reopening again. Mm-hmm. So it was never, I maybe used examples of retail and tourism, but any business that's affected, everybody's out of customers. So construction's out of customers right now too.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, thanks, Don. Just to Dan's point, I think that's something we're going to be having to explore, and we put questions into the province with regards to some flexibility for the municipalities to help support their local businesses. We're going to have to be creative around that, and I think those are things that the ideas that we hope to hear about today, we will need to take back and say, what's the vehicle that we can do that, so we can make sure that we can flow those fundings to the appropriate people.
Okay, just a thought. What if you can't go to BIAs, and I understand your point totally there, Peter, and it is wider than BIAs for sure. What if we started a business that would be their mandate, is to look at everything? So it's not just one business. It's a, I don't know, it's a recovery foundation or something.
What about a social enterprise? Social enterprise is the way to go, or something like that, because that's community driven. And what I was going to say too, if you don't mind, Pat and Dana and Janet and Kim, we've been working on a project privately, and I'm looking at Pat smiling here because we've been working on something. We've been up to something, and I think this project that we're up to would be the perfect example of this, and could be rolled out on a bigger level. So Pat, I don't know if we're allowed to say anything about it, or do you want to wait and say something? But this has been something we've been talking about. Can I share?
Yeah, spill the beans.
All right, so we've been working on these organizations. We've already been working on this for about a couple months now, about doing a Win the Space. So Win the Space is traditionally in the downtown main streets, but it doesn't have to be. It could be implemented in a different way. But the idea, it's already being run in many small communities, and the idea was to eliminate vacancies in downtowns. So the idea, there's a contest that's held. People would have to go through business training. They would submit their ideas. They'd go through a training program, and they would be judged on their applications. And in fact, what we'd work to do is get the landlords on board with being able to give the space that was up for auction, if you will, or give the space that was up for winning. The landlords would sort of work with negotiable rates so that these new entrepreneurs had a chance. They had a fighting chance. Along with this, they also get prize packs that would include marketing dollars, that would include all kinds of different things. Banking, we had some bank already stepping up saying they were going to give us some money, things like that. So we've been already working on this. Now you could take the same principle and apply it for all businesses. It wouldn't have to be the downtown Main Street businesses that could apply. And when you talk about an inflection of cash, or going into these businesses, having an application, having the applications judged, same idea. Maybe you can tie some of it to the CIP, depending on if it's the facade stuff. But we've already got this already going on. So ladies, I don't know if you want to chime in and add to what we've been working on for months now.
Okay, so let me just hold up there for just a minute. So Dan, are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah. So could funding be like from the municipality? Could it go into something like that?
I think so, but I think it's something we need to verify with the province and maybe get a legal opinion on that.
Little ruling on it, yeah. Yeah.
I'd already committed some of my marketing dollars to that program anyway, in order to market it to the community to get the interested individuals in to submit their business ideas. So technically it was already in my
It's like a CIP, yeah.
so.
Yeah, and you also mentioned, Dan, about grants, this is how the money would be potentially awarded through grants, right? So that's another interesting place.
But I think the problem with the municipality is they can't do it for individuals. It can only be an overall thing.
The grant would be, what I was thinking of, the way it would work from my end is that the grant would be to the program that largely was being run through the small business center.
Yeah.
So that's how I was thinking of working it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Small business
that's
center
where
would be the one
we
delivering the training program, would be the one that would be handling the pitch portion of it when they have this plan. So I was thinking of it as a grant to the small business center.
And that's what we already do. Several of our programs run in that same faculty. So we do our already training programs. We do granting programs already, and we've done that for Digital Main Street as well too. So that's an avenue that we could work together and work with the chamber to make sure that all the audiences are getting, connected to that.
Right. Okay, so can we just hold up on that one for a minute? It's I think Kelly probably wants stuff that is going to be good, like not just for one space or one guy or one whatever. I think what Kelly's after is what can we do on a broader scale? And that can be part of it, but I think we need to maybe hear from some of the other folks, just they got some ideas.
Dawn, can I say something? Just in regard to the Win This Space, and maybe we need to shift our focus away from new businesses that haven't actually established yet, and figuring out how we find funds or grants to keep existing businesses in their current leases and in their current spaces. But that, that can certainly shift. It's just a thought.
It's the same premise, Dawn. You could just, what my point was, is that these are contests that are already happening, and these are things that you could shift to those businesses that are in trouble, and it's a keep the space, or it's a something, right? The idea is that there's an inflection of money and training and repivoting to these that could go directly to these businesses to help them survive this. So it's not limited to just open storefronts. You could adapt the model and make it available to all the businesses that are in trouble.
Can you guys send me a copy of that so I can maybe, like, is there a layout of it somewhere?
We can put something together for you, for sure.
Could you? Just so we can see what we can do to move it forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, the point was the model is effective because it's already working with training and rebuilding and granting. So I think you can take it and give it to the businesses, to Bob's point, that need this help to help them survive.
Does your outfit you're with, have they seen an increase in funding for some of this stuff?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that, Don.
So your funding, have you seen more funding coming from the province?
Nope. Actually, interesting you say that. We're just in our calendar year right now. So I just got a note today because I was asking for our funding to see when that pocket, and apparently I can now submit my year end, if you will, so that they'll look at it. But I can tell you collectively, our funding will remain the same dollar wise. But what's interesting is the Small Business Network in general, 47 of us strong, put in a separate proposal last week to look at having a specialty idea where we have some funding coming in, that we would have a, if you will, and lack of better terminology, but a COVID response advisor in each of the centers. So it would help pay for somebody who could be specially trained on all the grants, all the monies, all the directions, so that each center would have a targeted person, so we can cut some of the rhetoric out and the misinformation.
Well, if you could send me a copy of that, maybe Pat's already gonna have a copy, but just so I can take a look at it and just see if there's some way we can move it forward.
Yeah, for the other piece, I can, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, who else we got there? Kim, do you have any ideas, any suggestions?
Well, it's really hard to start planning things when we don't even know how long this is going to take. Like, there's a lot of businesses down here that being closed for 1 month, they're not going to survive, like being closed 1 month. And if you're looking at being closed for 3 months, there's even more businesses that aren't going to be able to afford that. We've, as the BIA, have already kind of spun our cancellation of our event money over into doing advertising. We are doing radio ads. We did a restaurant ad in the Wellington Advertiser with the county-wide restaurants that were still open. We did Swap Talk. We're doing social media. We're also all over our website updating, and our new About page has all the COVID information about who's open and who's doing what. And we're trying to help a few of the stores actually get online stores developed. So we've already kind of hit the ground running with the Fergus BIA. But yeah, we're seriously worried about a lot of our small little businesses.
I think we all are. Yeah, it's our community we're losing here.
Exactly.
Don,
Yeah.
one more quick thing that in my chat with retailers that I speak with, and I'm not sure whether you own or whether you rent, Kim, but Kelly, I think this is an important thing too, because rent is the big issue right now for those that rent. And rent is the one expense we can't cut. We've cut our teams for the most part. We've had to lay off. We've done whatever we could do. A lot of us, like was said earlier, have cash flow issues. I've been on the phone all day today with my suppliers and what are we going to do and how are we going to work all that sort of stuff out. So cash flow is a big issue. But if we have good relationships and we can work with our partners there, the big thing comes back to the fact that we have a nut to pay every month, even when we are closed. And if we're closed for 3 months or whatever the case is going to be, we have 3 months worth of rent to pay. So if there's any sort of ability to have some sort of rent rebate of some kind through the county, that would enable us, even if it goes directly to the landowners, it doesn't really matter, just so long as it gets funneled, because that one thing is something that we can't cut and still has to be accommodated.
Don, can I respond to that? Now, that is exactly why we set up this county fund. So Kim, are the stores and the business owners that you're aware of, have they been able to be successful in getting some money to keep paying their rent for the next couple of months? Because that's exactly why we set this fund up.
Well, there's some people that didn't even know about the fund, so we were forwarding them information from our membership list. And then also with the federal government and things that come down, it sounds good until you start reading the fine print and you find out that you had to have no sales, and some of them were hustling trying to keep their sales up, and then they had sales, so then they don't qualify for this one period for the CERB money. And then you can't apply for the federal loan either unless your payroll is high enough. So if you're a small business, there's a lot that isn't even applicable to you, that you can't do things. So I don't know.
And I get that from the federal side, but specifically the county fund there's still money there, and I can push for more money being put into there. If there's one fund that I think is suited for paying rent, it's this one. So are there still businesses in downtown Fergus that don't know about this? Because I don't understand how they could. Well,
because a lot of us are burying our heads in the sand right now.
Oh, no, and that's true. I know what that's all about.
Yeah. Well, I was talking with Natalie, but she was talking that because she has Fountainhead and then she also has the Red Door Cafe, that she didn't know if she would qualify because her Red Door Cafe sales plummeted, but then her health food side of it has increased because she's grocery. So she didn't think that she would qualify in there. And then she didn't really have the time to pursue it, to contact anybody and to do that, because she's the one working in the store right now. So she doesn't have the hours to do things like that. Same with Fergie's, Miriam's over there, they've cut most of their staff and she's on site doing it. So that seems to be an issue, is that the actual small business owners are the ones on the floor and the ones doing the shipping, doing the online store setups. they're not able to pursue what they need to pursue outside for financing. So
Okay, so really practical, the next step that we have to get to help these businesses get in the funnel here for this county funding, because you know, it's the application process is so simple, it's very easy to do. So if you can think about anything we can do, if it's walking around to businesses and providing them with Rick Whitaker's phone number, that's all it takes to get this process going. So it's supposed to be so easy. And that's really why we set it up this easy, because we knew that businesses had so much anxiety right now, they weren't even thinking clearly. So that's why this is supposed to be so easy. So let's do it wherever we can, and I'll work with you on that. Let's do it at whatever we can to get these business owners in front of Rick Whitaker.
So Kelly, just a thought on that is Dana has the chamber blast list, which will get out to everybody. Not everybody, but all the chamber members, so it's not just the BIA. Because lots of people belong to the BIA and don't belong to the chamber. So we really need, like, could you send something out? And I'm sure Dana would do it if there was some little sheet some little blurb that she could fire out to all the chamber members.
So we have already done that, and it's been shared. Kim and the Elora BIA as well have forwarded to the BIA members. I'm thinking about the town hall meeting on the Grand on Tuesday, that this could be a great focus. And Kim, I just reached out to you, and I know Christella reached out to you and Pat, just to reach out to all your business connections to let them know that this is a business focused town hall, and we can talk more about this funding. And Kelly, if you're able to get more money into this, because it might, you know, by Tuesday there might not be a lot of money left, right? But I think that's a really great way, because everybody has access to the radio, whether it's actually on your radio or Radio Player Canada. And if we just got to get the businesses aware of it and get their heads out of the sand as much as possible. But we've done a ton of promotion of the county Keep Well benefits, and we can continue to do so. But yeah, our actual database is limited to our members and those who have signed up for our e-newsletter. And then Kim, thank you. You guys have been amazing at the BIA to share that with all of your members, and the other business support groups are also sharing it with their members. So the distribution has been quite wide at this point in time. But I think the town hall might be a great way to get more interactive with people on this.
Thank you. Thank you. So I guess like that sort of information, does it need to go out like every week? You know, because some people don't read their stuff because they're working their buns off trying to keep their business going, and they miss one. You know, is it something that maybe we could repeat?
So from a chamber, yeah, from a chamber perspective, we do it in a multiple number of ways and multiple times. So it goes through social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, through email blasts. We do a e-newsletter that goes out weekly. So it's actually, we're trying not to inundate people with too much communication, but the information's being put out there. We just have to figure out how do we cascade that through all of the businesses and the entire community. We do get good share rates, and we do get a good open rate and click-through rate as well on all of our newsletters and email blasts, as well as social media. So there's some good stuff there, but again, some of it's just having those conversations with the people. And I think, Tony, you made a really good point earlier about helping business owners that are overwhelmed, having those conversations to help them get their heads out of the sand and let them know what's available from the different, all the different levels of government. But yeah, the county fund is amazing.
Yeah, we've been doing the same with social media too, Don. It's been going out through all of our advisors. It's been going out through our social media. In fact, I've been shaming City of Guelph because of this, because you guys have been far more progressive and wonderful and a great example. So trust me, anytime I can do that, I retweet, I do a lot of it.
Okay, Andy, Andy?
Yeah, Don, just as we're chatting here, my comment earlier that, so today actually our AMOS and Association of Municipalities of Ontario is meeting with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and they've set up some meetings for the next couple of weeks to actually look at some of the ways that we could flex the CIP funding program to make more access to businesses. So that I just received an email from some contacts with that. And so I do think we're going to see some more flexibility from the province that will be able to help support, which will help to kind of look at how do we support across not just a certain sector, but all across the sectors.
Yeah, we want to try to make sure we do stuff right across all of Center Wellington. So
yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? I can only see 5 or 6 people at the top here. Has anybody else got any ideas? Bob, anything else? I think yours was really good. Where are we? Okay. Who else we got? Tony
has left the meeting.
Janet Harrop. Is Janet still there?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute. So I think Dana has really done a great job of covering the chamber. If I could just speak briefly to the agricultural piece.
Yes.
The agricultural piece, people are busier than ever. And I know in our business, our part-time staff that normally would be coming to help us are not coming. So we're running around and it's spring and it's busy. And our supply chains actually remarkably have not been affected significantly, and which aside from going into retail stores where the doors are closed and we have to call ahead and order stuff. I think from a municipality perspective, some of the building projects that have been delayed, some of the work in the building department, once everything is kind of up and going again, there could be definitely some support there. The economic piece from the county and the municipality is really in agriculture tends to go more out towards the commodity groups and more provincially and federally. And I know with having recent conversations with the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, they are approaching the province and the feds around programs for agriculture. We're fortunate that we do have some horticulture in this area, but the horticultural businesses more towards the southwest have just been decimated. The greenhouses in particular are just turning their heaters off and the plants are dying because they have no retail place for that anymore. We do have some greenhouse and their businesses in Wellington County, but not a lot. So I've been trying to think, I think the whole building piece and trying to get information out to businesses, that's always the difficulty in the rural area because they think programs impact within the urban boundary because often they don't go outside the urban boundary. So to recognize that some of this information is hugely valuable for the rural area, and I'm trying to get as many people on the chamber network in terms of some of the communication as I can.
That's great. Well, thank you. Ted, do you have anything? Ted Ecclestone, are you there? No. Neil, do you have any suggestions? Oh, just a minute. Ted's coming in here.
Well, maybe, can you hear me?
Yep, there you are. I can hear you now.
So
yep.
I think these ideas that you guys have come up with are absolutely incredible, and anything that I can do to help, I'm all in. From my business, we've never seen anything like it before with the amount of people that have money and just want to put it into the market. So I also see on Facebook there's some negative comments that are saying, how come all these people get these $2,000 per month, and why would I bother to go to work? Somehow we need to get that message out onto Facebook. And Neil, I saw you were in on one part of the string this morning, and we need to get the confidence back out to, I like that ribbon idea or a fridge magnet or whatever it happens to be in order to get this stuff all going again. But it's an incredible team you've got.
Yes, it sure is.
I would agree.
John?
Just one sec, Neil.
Let Andy go. I see he's waving his hand there for the last 5 minutes, so.
Okay.
Let him go.
So I just wanted to let Janet know that actually on today's county call, all the CAOs and the mayors chat every day at 12:30, and on that meeting today was Randy Pettipiece, and he is working on the agricultural building component of the essential businesses, Janet. So that's something that we're hoping will get a change in direction in very quickly.
Good. Just a thought here, Pat. At one point, we had talked about expanding the CIP out into the rural area as well. Did that happen?
It has not happened yet. When it comes to the CIP, my professional association and has been speaking with the minister as well about being able to expand that program without having to do some of the hoops that we have to jump through normally with public meetings, all of those kind of things, being able to be a little bit more nimble and flexible with it.
Right.
I have spoken to the Ministry of OMAFRA about if they could put their 2 cents in about it, because they have the downtown revitalization program through their programming. We'd like to do things like there could be a marketing, if I could add programs, there could be a marketing program that we could add to that in the same way we do grants for other, they do grants for studies and all of those other things in some of the CIPs. We could do, it could be a marketing grant in that one. We could do digital facades if we're allowed to fund some of those kind of things. So everybody is asking for some flexibility in the CIPs to be able to do more with those programs.
So Kelly, is that something that you and Andy could maybe help push along?
Yeah, I mean, Brett, I think Brett and Pat are kind of on that one, and I know that the county is looking at through their community improvement program and see if there's ways that we can use a couple different tools and put a couple different tools in our CIP toolbox. So I think they're kind of on that one, and we can pursue that a little bit more for sure. Yeah, and I think that's kind of where some of the conversations are naturally going, both at the township and the county level.
Good. Okay. Who else has their hand up? I'm gonna have to do a scan here.
I'll speak now since
Okay.
I let Andy speak, and then. So a couple of things that people have been mentioning to me that, and some small business people, that they're really worried about, because one of the things we depend on is tourism, but so do other communities. And they're fearful that when the government finally opens the doors and says, okay, people, off you go and roam, the people will not just leave home, they will roam. They'll leave town, they'll go out to other communities and visit and try to stretch their legs and stuff. And they're really thinking that we've got to do something to keep people here in town and kind of like a shop local on steroids, really. So that when they finally lift it and we can go, that explore your own community again and be reminded of who is actually here. So that's kind of, and it's hard to plan for something like that because we don't know when this will be lifted. It could be lifted in June, July, August, or whatever. And if we just have something ready so we can kind of do, I don't know, maybe that passport thing on steroids or something that just gets people going into the local businesses and saying, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for having your restaurant open so that I could take takeout. Now I'm here to eat, or, I'm going to head into Peter's place and buy shoes because, you're still here. You survived, and I'm going to come and say hello. Something to promote that, and how we can financially support those businesses in doing that, I'm not sure, but I see that Pat's got her hand up, so she's probably got an idea.
Yeah. Okay, Pat, are you there?
This is it. I'm not ready to launch this yet, but I just wanted to let everyone know that we have been working with the chamber, and I did mention before this meeting started that I wanted to speak to Kim about something. We have been working towards a shop local CW program that will allow any business in Center Wellington to be able to generate some sales now and get some revenue now. The chamber, as I said, we're not ready to roll it out yet, but it is going to be called Shop Local, and it will allow us to be to move forward more aggressively in promoting that shop local programming. Also, I did a webinar yesterday where they had some really great ideas about doing some advertising around, we want you to stay home. We never thought we'd tell you to stay home, but we're ready for you to visit us when you can. So do some messaging around that kind of stuff.
You can almost go, both things could go at the same time.
Right. We can take, I mean, to be honest, it could even be pictures of empty streets saying, we're so happy that you're staying home and we can't wait to see you again.
Right.
That kind of messaging. But we're rolling out in the next, hopefully the next week or so, a program that we've been working on in collaboration with the Chamber to drive some of that shop local.
Okay, good. Just a little bit of my end here, so that the campground's closed. And who knows when that's going to open up. I hope it's not too long, because you can't have May 24 in November. But you know, one thing, when the people can come here, they can sure you know, help the local economy, that's for sure. But yeah, who knows where we are on some of that stuff. Okay, I see Dana's tried to have her hand up a couple of times. Was it the same thing? Okay. Anybody else? I can't, like I say, I can only see about 5 or 6 here at the same time.
Brett's waving his hand.
Who is?
Brett Salmon.
I am.
Brett Salmon, there you are, okay.
One of the things that we're talking about at the township staff level, whether we need the CIP to do it or not, we'll have to look at, but is when businesses are ready to get rolling again, and we have a few that have building projects outstanding, can we look at some kind of you know, deferral of fees for a period of time, or defer development charge payments and things like that, just to kind of soften the blow when people have a cash flow issues. So we're gonna be talking about those things too.
Well, that's good, because I know from stuff I've done that some of the fees on the front end can be pretty substantial, and anything you can do to help people get the shovel in the ground somewhere, it's you know, benefit to everybody. Anybody else that I'm missing? So Kelly, is there something else that you guys got some ideas there?
No, I think it was good to just have this brainstorming session, and some good ideas came up. So that's kind of given us some things to kind of pursue from our end. And that was kind of the reason behind it. And
sure,
as you get into your different networks and you hear of anything that you think we should be doing, just feel free to send stuff to Pat and Dawn. And we'll see if, you know, if some of these ideas are nuggets that we can kind of move on as fast as we can, because I think, you know, we just have to have a few good things to really move ahead on, and we don't have to take a machine gun approach and try to do everything, but let's pick the things that seem that we think have a good chance of success, and just kind of pursue them. So some good ideas today. Appreciate you guys coming to the table for sure.
okay. You sure get around, Kelly.
I don't quite know how to answer that one, Don.
I'll just yes, Janet.
Do you remember, do we go to high school together or something, or what?
No. Just the scenery changes quite a bit. Anyhow, anybody got anything else? There are a couple other things to, is there, Kelly, we had talked about getting a restart committee. Did you want to do that, or do you want to just do it with us?
Well, why don't we have a quick discussion about it? I mean, I think it kind of makes sense to kind of go that direction and have a real clean focus on, you know, restarting, and have a group that is thinking those things and coming up with some of these ideas, and then kind of doing the first filter and bringing it back to the whole team. So I think that would be the most appropriate and most valuable thing to do right now, is to have some of you guys on a committee that have these discussions from this point forward, a little bit of a smaller.
So any discussion on it, anybody? Once again, I can only see a few of you, so.
I think that's a great idea, and I'd like to be a part of that. I think we need to have a plan. We need to get some ideas around and then have this whole committee look at it, just so that we're ready to go when something happens.
Yeah, and I think this is really for economic development, I think this is really the biggest focus, probably the next 6 months is to see what we can do to help businesses come around, you know, I think. So Neil, okay, so I wouldn't mind being part of it.
Donna, I would like to be part of that too, if I could.
Dawn, it's Christelle. I'd like to be on it.
Dawn, it's Paul. I'll go on that.
Bob Cameron said he would go.
I would go too, but I mean, I think the beauty of this group is I think everybody knows this needs to happen, so we're all willing to do it. It's who needs to be there, I think.
Okay, so why don't we leave it at that group for right now? I think we have a pretty good idea of the skill sets that are around the table here right now, and maybe we can draw on somebody's expertise as we go down the road. Does that sound fair? Kelly, do we need to get this approved by council?
This is something we can do within the scope of this committee. This committee has the authority to set up its own subcommittees. If we were setting up a whole new committee, it would need council approvals, but this one doesn't.
If it just to be a subcommittee of economic development, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we've got number 7. I think we're pretty well done here, guys. Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, I got an FYI for everybody if you've got a couple of minutes.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
This helps our community out immensely starting next week. We are Grand River Ag, Grand River Raceway starting a program helping Hungry Heroes next week. It's supposed to roll out Tuesday. Who knows with timing? Next week at the most. We put $25,000 in. We're buying gift cards from local restaurants and local fast food distributors. So a regular restaurant will buy a $20 gift card, probably spend $1,000 there. Tim Hortons, McDonald's, whatever, will buy $10 gift cards and spend $500 there. The gift cards are all going to the hospital. The hospital will give them out to the workers that need, you know, the dinner that night, stuff like that, to help them out. And we'll start advertising this next week so anybody else in the community can help out. If somebody wants to give a $100 gift card, the program's set up. Somebody's going to pick up the stuff and deliver it for us from the restaurants to the hospital. We're trying to get the service communities involved as well. We started working on this about a week ago, so we're trying to streamline it as fast as possible. So it's great for our frontline workers. It's really great for our local business. And it's really good to put some money into a restaurant that probably hasn't seen $1,000 in 3 weeks. So as long as the restaurants are open at night to serve a meal, we'll be buying gift cards from them. So just wanted to let you guys know right up front what we're doing, so you all know what's going to happen next week. That's it. Thanks, Don.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Anybody else got anything? I'd just like to say something is we are all lucky to live where we do. And thanks to everybody that's on the committee here. And we just got to stay at it and see what we can help. And anyhow, I'll call the meeting adjourned if unless there's anything else. Nobody? Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks,
everybody.
Happy Easter to everyone.
Yep, you too.
Happy Easter.
Everybody.
Happy Easter, everyone. Thanks, Don.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Yep.
Take care. Bye.
Yep.
Thanks,
All the best.
guys. I'll be in touch.
Yep. Thank you, Devlin.
Thank you.
That went okay? Yep.
Went perfect.